Hello, this is Mrs. Clark, and we are doing a Chapter 3 multiplication video to try to explain some of the concepts that we are working with during our multiplication sections in Chapter 3. So the first lesson that covers multiplication in that chapter is a lot of review of what we went back and tried to cover from the 3rd grade chapter earlier this year. And that is just starting to get an understanding of how multiplication works and using place value to understand the computation that we do during our multiplication problems. So an example that we would have worked on early in this chapter is something like 126 times 3, and having kids use manipulatives to understand what this visually looks like. So when I multiply 3 groups of 6 ones, there's one group of 6 and a second group of 6 and a third group of 6. And so when I show 3 groups of 6 ones, this is what it would look like, and our kids can then visually see that 3 times 6 is 18. And then the next thing that we had to talk about was the regrouping process, and that when in our ones place or any other place, when we have a group of 10, that needs to be regrouped into the next column. And so if I were to take 10 of the ones and trade them in for 110, then we can see that 18 is really consisting of 110 and 8 ones. And that's how we get the regrouping. So when I get this all figured out, I can see that 3 times 6 is 18, which is 8 ones, and 110. So they start to understand where that 1 comes from that we carry into the next column. After they have that, then we would go on to our tens place. So we have 3 groups of 2 tens, which we can make look like this. And then we visually see that 3 groups of 2 tens is 6, plus the 1 that I regrouped from my ones column, so I have a total of 7. And they should know that we didn't get to a group of 10 there, so there's nothing to regroup into the next column. And so that's where my 7 tens comes from in my answer. And then the last part would be to multiply my hundreds, so I've got 3 groups of 100 in each. And so that's what that would look like, which gives me a total of 3 hundreds. And so I'd have an answer of 378. And so when the kids were doing this, they were getting a much better understanding first of what it looks like as we actually move those objects around, and then they're able to use just the computation and the numbers because they understand where that came from. After that, then we're moving on to some more difficult problems. In this chapter, we'll also move on to multiply 2 and 3-digit numbers times a 2-digit number. And so as we think back to learning multiplication, we understand that this would be the type of problem that we were told the steps, and one of the steps would be to add a 0 to our second line of work before we move on to multiplying by that second number. For us, we want our kids now to understand the place value behind that and understand where the 0 comes from. So it's no longer like a magic 0 like we might have referred to it before, or just another step. It's actually something that they're doing because they understand the place value that they're working in. So I'll demonstrate a 2-digit times a 2-digit number. We can do 27 times 32. And obviously, we'll teach the kids that it all starts the same. We always want to start in our ones place. So we've got 2 groups of 7 ones, which is 14 ones. And like we just saw, they'll get the understanding that that's 4 ones and 1 10. And then that's 2 groups of 2 tens, which is 4 tens plus 1 more is 5 tens. And they can see that that's why I've got the number 54. After we finish that first work, now will be the challenge to be able to explain to them why we will have a 0 here. And I know that we were taught to put it there and then continue with your multiplication, but what we want our kids to understand is that this is not just 3 times 7 now. This is a 3 in the tens place, which is a 30. And so we might actually be writing off to the side at times. I've got 7 ones times 30 this time. And when I do that, I get a total of 210 ones. And then continuing to get that understanding of where our numbers will go, 210 ones is the same as 21 tens, and I can further explain that as 2 hundreds and 1 10. And so when I'm writing this, I see I don't have anything, once I get this all broken down, I don't have anything in the ones place, which is why I have a 0 here. I can see I have 110 here, and now that 2 is what I get to carry over. Then I can do 30 times 2 tens, which gives me a total of 60 tens, which of course is 6 hundreds. And so when I do that, I get 6 hundreds plus the 2 hundreds that I had already regrouped, and I get a total of 8 hundreds. And then I get a final answer of 864. So the big thing here is going to be that understanding of this isn't a 3 times 7, it's a 30 times 7, so that they always understand, and they'll start to catch on and just start to put that 0 there, but we wanted you to have the understanding that we're not teaching it as just another step before you continue multiplying. We're teaching it as this is 30 times 7 ones, and that will always lead to nothing in the ones place. We'll always have to start our answer there in the tens place. So we just wanted to give you that background information. Really computation-wise with this multiplication, there's not a lot different. Once it gets to the numbers, it will really look the same as what you and I are used to. But the way that it's being explained in the classroom will probably be a little different. So we just wanted to kind of relay that message and hope that you are not finding too many struggles in helping your students at home with this. Thank you.